and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Brienne from Beyond Breation, and in today's video we have day 2 of 12 days of Christmas crafts, which features this 11 by 11 layout. It is a little photo scene featuring a little shaker in there, and I can't wait to get into this and show you exactly how I made it. So today, like I said, we are making this layout that you see here. I have made a few adjustments to it because this was fully designed in my Cricut design space, and when I first made this, this was the first time that I had made it, and I found that the sizing, I just wanted to make a few adjustments. Originally, this shaker is, I think I made it 7.5 inches. And it was just too big. It took up far too much of the layout space, even though it is super, super cute. So I adjusted the sizing in Cricut Design Space, and the shaker is 5.5 by 5.5. So that frees up a lot more of the space up here because I tried a lot of really, really fun techniques on this layout. We have our glitter cardstock to show the snowy hills. We have a shaker. I have some snow text here that we added some really, really fun snowy details here. Obviously, we have the shaker, and then you can't really see it here, but I did some heat embossing of some snowflakes on here that I'm really, really excited to do with you guys. So there are a few new techniques in here. I'd never used snow text, and also I've never done the heat embossing successfully. So that was really, really exciting. And we're gonna get right into it, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I did everything. So to begin, I have here a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. This does have pattern on the back, but I didn't have any 12 by 12 paper that was just white. So this is what I'm gonna be using. The back side is white. It works. The first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this down to be 11 by 11. And that's just because some of the other cardstock that I'm using is 11 inches versus being 12 inches. So I thought I still want to use it, so I'm just going to make it work. So that meant for me converting a 12 by 12 layout into 11 by 11. Super easy fix. Just cut off 1 inch on both sides, and voila, we have our 11 by 11 cardstock. So I have already gone out and cut all of my pieces from Cricut Design Space. I have 6 of these little outline pieces. I have 2 of these background pieces. I have 1 acetate sheet here, and I have my 3 snowy hills. And then here is what I was talking about, having the 11 by 11 pieces of cardstock. My acetate is 11 by 11. So that's why we needed to cut that down. And then I have this snowflake background. This is by Hunky Dory. This is longer than 11 inches. So we're also gonna take that and we're gonna cut that down to 11 inches as well. Just like that. And now these pieces should all, oh, I knew I had 2 pieces of acetate, or vellum, sorry, vellum. I have a piece of vellum here. Now these should fit. I am going to just trim this vellum down to be 8 1/4, just so that it fits perfectly on top of my cardstock. Just like that. Perfect. So the first thing that we are gonna do is we are gonna get our heat embossing done. So I'm gonna put everything off to the side except for my vellum. And I am going to bring in my heat embossing tool. I just have the one by Sizzix. I'm gonna bring in my snowflake stamps, my Versamark stamp pad, my Wow embossed powder. This, I don't even know what shade it is, but it's kind of like an iridescent white that I'm using, and then my stamp block. So we are going to get stamping with our Versamark here. I am using 3 snowflakes here, and what I'm gonna do, I don't even know what collection this is from, but it's just 3 snowflakes. If you have snowflakes, use them. If you have words that you want to do in a pattern on the background, absolutely feel free to do that as well. What I'm going to do here is I am just going to lay these snowflakes out just in a 3 pattern on my stamping block, and I am gonna just move them around until I'm happy with how they're placed, just because I'm gonna be stamping this all over my vellum, and I want to be able to do a bunch of stamping and then add all of my embossing powder. And I'm also just gonna grab a scrap piece of paper, and this is just going to be for afterwards to collect all of the leftover embossing powder so that I can just put it right back into my container. So I have my heat tool plugged in so that it's ready to go once I am done stamping. I'm gonna grab my Versamark, and I am just gonna stamp this all over my snowflakes. And I'm gonna just make sure that I got them all nicely covered. And I am just going to stamp this down. Just like that. And I'm gonna continue doing this all over. I'm gonna be twisting and turning my stamping block just to get the best coverage of the snowflakes on my card or on my vellum. Let's see, I'm gonna put this one like that. And I'll probably do one more and then add my embossing powder. This one like that. There we go. I'm gonna bring in my embossing powder, and I'm gonna just put that all over my stamps. We're all covered. And then I'm gonna bring in my scrap cardstock here, and I'm just gonna tap this onto the scrap. And I'm just gonna put this back into my container. Cover this for the time being, and I am gonna bring my heat embossing tool in, and I am going to put this there we go. And you know it's fully embossed when the powder fibers melt and they become not granular but more smooth. So that's the first part of the vellum. So we are just going to continue this process until we have our full sheet of vellum embossed. And just like that, we have our embossed vellum. So pretty. We are gonna bring in our snowflake cardstock. This can be honestly anything that you want to put behind your vellum. I thought because we put embossed snowflakes that having snowflakes in the background would kind of go together and just tie it all in together. So I just loved the idea of the look of that. So that is what I chose. You can choose something darker, you can choose something lighter, you can just put white behind it, you can put glitter behind it, like if you just want that little bit of subtle sparkle. Do you know what I mean? You can really do whatever you want with it. Before we get this actually glued down, we want to keep in mind where we can glue because you can see the adhesive through. I wonder if I can show you on this. With vellum, you can see the adhesive through. No, I don't have anything showing to show you. But you can see the adhesive through the vellum because it is sheer. So we just want to be mindful when we are adding our adhesive on. And I do see that I'm a bit off in my measurements, so I'm going to trim that down once we're glued. But with my circles here, I know that I'm going to have one nestled up against the top and the bottom, just like that. So I know this here is a very safe place to put my adhesive because we are not going to see there. And then same with down here. Once this is nestled up there, that is also a safe place to put our adhesive. Everywhere else we want to avoid or use just as little as we can because we're not going to be able to leave this fully up like that because we do want it tacked down, but we do want to have as little showing as we can. So I am going to add some adhesive here in this corner. I am gonna just use my liquid glue for this, and we can touch it up with other adhesive later. I think I'm gonna put that right up to the top. I'm gonna double check where this goes. Okay, so I can just add some glue there. Burnish that down. And so you can kind of see here that you can just see that bit of glue through the vellum. But it's going to be fine because it is going to be hidden by this piece here. And then same goes for the one down here, but I am going to bring in my full sheet here just because I want to make sure just want to confirm where I'm putting my pieces. Okay. This is going to be going here. this piece, we can have it over. I think I kind of like the look of it hanging down over these pieces just a little bit. So I'm gonna just add a little bit of glue just right in this area here. Just like that. And I'm just going to put a dot of glue just behind this snowflake here. That will hopefully hide that being tacked down there. Same with just down and in here. Just wanting as little glue to show as possible. And then once this is on, we're not gonna see the edge here. So I'm just gonna add a strip of glue along the bottom here. Just like that. We can glue this piece down onto our base, and for that, I'm just gonna use some double-sided tape. And that's just because I find I can be a lot more accurate sometimes with double-sided tape, just because I can peel off the edges, get it lined up, and then remove the tape fully. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove just part of the backing sheet. I'm gonna get this flipped and make sure we're putting this on the right way. I'm going to get this as lined up as I can. And then remove the backing sheet, and this one as well. And then the other two sides. There we go. So that is our base. Next, what we can do is we can add on our snowbanks. I like to kind of lay out the order. I like all of my hills to go in alternating hills. So if this one's coming down, I want this one to come down this way, and then I want the third one to come down the other way. So I'm gonna get these kind of placed where I think I want them. This one right there. So I'm gonna remove the bottom two, and all I'm gonna do is just put in a pencil line where I want the bottom of this one to come as just my guide. And I'm gonna add my liquid adhesive to the back of this. I'm just gonna glue it down all the way. Like that. Bring it up to my line and get that glued on. Gonna come in with my next one, get that lined up where I want it. Wonder if I bring it down a little bit. I think I want to cover up this piece here. So I'm again just going to draw a quick line, get my glue, line that up. And then the last one is the easiest because all we have to do is line this one up with the bottom of the layout. I am just going to add a line of it at the bottom just to reinforce that. So there is our snowbanks. So next, what we can work on while this sets up and dries. So next we're gonna work on our shaker. So for that, we are gonna pull out our backing sheet, our border pieces, and our acetate. And these should all fit perfectly together. There is a direction that everything will fit together, so I'm just going to quickly go in and get everything laid out that way. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna put one of these off to the side, and the rest of these outer pieces we are going to glue together stacked. So to do that, I am just going to add glue, just a thin layer of it. I know some people like to use foam tape for their shakers, but I found a lot of the time that I just prefer layering my cardstock together. And it's really not that much more work. Just get them lined up, glue them together. It's just the way that I prefer to do it. You can, if you're gonna make one of these yourself and you prefer foam tape, feel free to use foam tape. I just find for me that layering the cardstock together is a little bit easier than having to cut down the foam tape and get it all put on and lined up so that it's not peeking out. This way I know all of the pieces just fit perfectly together. They line up very nice, and it is just thick enough that the shaker bits still work. You can also choose to use heavier weight cardstock that is a little bit thicker for that. This is just 65-pound cardstock from Michaels, but you can use a thicker cardstock as well. That will add a lot of thickness as well. It is completely up to you what you want to do and what you want to use. But there is the shaker base all put together. And next what we can do is we can just glue that right on to our base here. So I'm just going to add my glue, just like that. And I'm gonna get it lined up with my base. Just like that. We can pop that off to the side and we can begin to work on our acetate. So we can add our glue to the outside of this one that we put off to the side. And this piece we are gonna glue onto our acetate. Bring my acetate in and we're gonna get this lined up. Lining up the acetate can be a bit tricky just because it is see-through. There we go. Any glue that you get on it, it's pretty easy just to wipe off. There we go. And just like that, that is glued down and ready to go as well. So I'm gonna put that off to the side, let that dry. I'm gonna bring my base back in and we are going to add our shaker bits. So for shaker bits for this one, I wanted to use a mix of these Sizzix snowflakes, and they're like iridescent snowflakes, and there's other little shapes in there. That's what they look like. and just some other iridescent glitter. And that is just from the dollar store. And it's just iridescent and pretty. So I saw a tip that to glue down bits of shaker bits throughout your shaker so that they stick and are constantly on your layout. So you're not worried about everything falling to the bottom of the layout. They're always going to be in the background. And then also your shaker is also gonna shake. So I loved that tip. I can't remember where I saw that tip, but if I remember, I will put it down below in the description box. But ever since I read that, I just loved the idea. So I am just gluing little snowflakes all over my background, sticking them down so that they'll just always be scattered throughout my layout. Just like this. I think I want one more right there. There. Just like that. And then we can proceed to add the rest of our shaker bits into our base here. I just made a bit of a mess. They spilled, so I'm just picking them up with my finger, just like that. I'm just gonna sprinkle some in. And then I'm also going to add in my dollar store ones, just like that. Give it a bit of a shake, and then we can add on our topper piece. So I'm just gonna add glue around on the base itself. I find it a bit easier than trying to add glue onto the piece with the acetate. And then we don't want the part that we glued showing, if you can see this side. We want the side that we put the paper on top of to show. And we are just going to line that up and glue it down. I don't want to pick this up and angle it too quickly because I don't want all of the glitter pieces to stick to the glue that I put down. So I'm gonna leave this as flat as I can for just a little bit while that dries. But this is when we get to bring in the fun snow text. So I'd never used a snow text before, but when I saw it online, I loved the idea of using it for a craft. I decided to use it to add some texture to the outside of this shaker frame. I bought this at Michael's. I was able to get either 30 or 40% off of it. For some reason, at least at my Michael's, it was age restricted. So when I was going through the self-checkout, they had to come and I had to put in my birthday. Not really sure why. I read the ingredients. I couldn't see what was in it that might cause it to be age restricted, but in any event, we got our snow text. So I'm just using my little Cricut spatula tool because I'm not a painter and I don't have the little, the other little tools, but all I'm gonna do is I am just going to put it on the outer edge. And I am doing this quite thickly. I want it to have texture. Just like this. And I think if afterwards, if you want it to be glittery, I'm pretty sure you can go on and add glitter as well. And that will stick to the snow text and make it a little bit shimmery, which I thought was really fun. I'm not gonna do that on mine just because I do have it. There's a lot of glitter on the inside, and like the background of my paper is glittery, but it's totally something you can do. So I'm just going around and I am just adding on my snow text. And it's just adding a really nice grainy texture to the outside portion of this little frame and making it look a little bit more festive, a little bit more snowy. And it all kind of ends up playing in because my layout I'm doing as kind of like a winter scene. So it works perfectly with my layout idea. There we go. So we just have to let that sit and dry for a bit so that everything hardens and it fully sets. But once that's done, we can finish putting our layout together. All right, so I've let this sit for about an hour. It is not perfectly set just yet, but it's set enough that we can get the rest of this layout put together. So I'm gonna bring my layout back in. And what we are gonna do is we are gonna get this glued onto our layout at the top here. For that, I'm just gonna use my art glitter glue. And it isn't perfectly set yet, so I'm just gonna be careful when I'm handling this. Probably letting it sit overnight would be ideal. Okay, so I've added my glue. And I'm gonna just get this glued down, lined up with the top and the side. Okay. And it shakes. It's a shaker. It's perfect. And then for this one, we are gonna overlap it down here, just like that. And part of me is wondering if I almost want this one up on a bit of foam tape. I have here my 1/8 of an inch foam tape. I'm gonna cut a few strips of that. And we'll pop it there. I just kind of like the dimension that it gives this piece because this piece has obviously the layers to make it a shaker. So it's kind of nice to match this piece here with that. And the intention with this piece is for it to be a photo mat. So using my Cricut Maker, I will just cut out a picture. All we have left to do is embellish it, which is a really fun part. I have a whole bunch of ephemera pieces here that I've picked out. So I am just using this Bella Boulevard ephemera set. I don't even know if it has the name of the collection. I wonder if it's Fa La La. I see that up there at the top. But it doesn't really say anywhere else. But let's go with that. Let's say that it is the Bella Boulevard Fa La La collection. So I pulled out a whole bunch of pieces, way more than I am going to need for this layout. So I have two kind of sentiment ones. I pulled out a whole bunch of little trees. some little presents. I have a Santa sleigh, the Santa. I have a reindeer and a Santa hat. A couple of snowmen and a donkey. A couple more little houses. So my idea for this one was to do kind of a little scene, much like the other one, but I wanted to use the little houses and kind of set them up throughout the snowbanks. And here is the final finished product. Look at that. It has the shaker. It has a spot for our photo. There is dimension because we used some foam tape. We've brought in a lot of really fun color by using these ephemera bits with the pinks and the greens and the blues and the red. I love the simple little pops of red. They make it feel so Christmassy and so wintry. And adding this snow text is just so much fun. We could absolutely go in and add a little bit more to some other bits, like maybe to the trees. That would be really, really fun. I might go in afterwards and add some to that. But I absolutely love how this layout turned out. I think it is so festive and fun, and I love being able to use new techniques and new products, like using the snow text and using my embossing powders for the first time. That was really fun and a really fun technique that I will be using actually a lot in the future because it was so easy, and it also just, it adds so much to the layout. It just adds that glimmer and that texture that I crave when I look at a layout or at a card. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed day 2 of 12 days of Christmas crafts. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again very soon for the next 12 days of Christmas crafts video. Bye.